Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission, regular meeting, December 19, 2018. If we could all stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Steffen, could you take the roll?
Ms. Tinnerberry.
Aye. Here.
Mr. Seibach.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Garvick is excused. Steffen is present. Mr. Fritz.
Here.
Chairman Anger.
Here. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion at this time.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of the November 28th meeting. For anyone that was here, I will entertain a motion for that.
Motion to approve the minutes for November 28, 2018.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Next, we'll move on to public comment. This is for anybody in the audience that would like to make a public comment tonight. Seeing that there is none, we can move on to new business. First is a request for final site plan approval for VERUS Development Group, VDG Capital, on parcel number 5802-032-05600, otherwise known as 7386 SECOR Road, Lambertville, Michigan. Karen, can you give us the background?
Yes. Excuse me. Again, VDG Capital LLC is the owner. VERUS Development Group is the applicant. Spokesperson Mike Pennell, Eric Sandman of Stonefield Engineering. The subject site is 7386 SECOR Road, C3 zoned, a vacant parcel. Proposed use is a multi-tenant structure on 1.356 acres. The subject site is a C3 zoned corner parcel located on the southeast corner of SECOR and Stearns intersection, consisting of approximately 1.356 acres. This site went through an environmental cleanup with the MDEQ in 2016-2017 and is the former site of Buddy's. The property to the south, Burger King, is C3 general business zoned, as is the property to the east, Lambertville Veterinary Clinic. The property to the west, Tim Hortons, is C3 general business zone, while the property to the north, Walgreens, is C2 shopping center zone. The landscaping plan, which is sheet 710, per section 400-1907, provides a variety of streetscape plantings to buffer the parking lot from the street and meets the requirement of a minimum of 1 ornamental tree for every 50 lineal feet of frontage, plus 1 shrub for every 10 lineal feet or portion thereof of frontage. It should be noted this parcel is located within the DDA, which is the Downtown Development Authority, and a 15-foot easement has been granted to the DDA for columns and fencing, light poles, and benches that have been installed. The applicant will work with the DDA to ensure the planned landscaping for this area is in agreement. As well, 3 ornamental trees, 2-inch caliper at planting, are proposed along the south side of the parcel where there are no specific landscaping requirements. The stormwater management is within, beneath the parking lot pavement, thus eliminating detention basin landscaping. Lighting. In reviewing the illustration plan, light poles within a site that requires less than 100 parking spaces shall not exceed 20 feet in height. 2 light poles near the ingress-egress points on Stearns Road and SECOR Road, and 1 on the curbing at the northwest corner of the structure are 20 feet in height, while the building-mounted lighting located on all 4 sides of the structure are at 15 feet in height. All exterior lighting shall be fully shielded and directed downward to prevent off-site glare, including building-mounted lighting with more than 60-watt bulbs. As required by ordinance, the intensity of light within the site shall not exceed 10-foot candles at ground level and at the property line when adjacent to other commercial property. The submitted lighting plan complies with the foot candle requirements. However, it should be verified that all wall lighting is directed so to prevent off-site glare. It should be noted prior to addressing parking, unloading, and loading in dumpster location. On January 9, 2018, the applicant sought a front yard setback variance, parking space variance, and a variance to allow loading and unloading in a front yard, as well as to allow a trash enclosure within a front yard. After a lengthy discussion, a variance was granted to allow a trash enclosure to be located within a front yard to allow the loading and unloading to be located within the front yard, and to deny a reduced parking space requirement. Prior to the roll call on the reduced parking space motion, the applicant stated he understood the BZA's concern regarding the reduced parking space request and asked if the parking space variance request could be tabled to allow them time to further review possible options on parking requirements and site layout. The motion to deny the reduced parking space variance was withdrawn, and the request was tabled until February 5, 2018. On February 5, 2018, the applicant brought back a request that included a variance for reduced parking spaces, however amended the proposed plan to reduce the building size from 8,548 square feet to 8,068 square feet to provide additional parking spaces. Upon contact with the DDA, it was discovered a 15-foot easement was granted to the DDA to allow for columns, fencing, benches, street lighting, and sidewalks. Due to the short notice, the applicant was unaware of the DDA's 15-foot easement that was granted by the previous owner, thus resulting in a continued requirement for parking space variance. On February 5, 2018, the BZA granted a parking space variance conditioned upon working with the Mannequin Smith Group and the Downtown Development Authority on issues that may be of concern. To accommodate the easement and to take into consideration comments made by the Board of Zoning Appeals and speakers during the 2 BZA meetings, the applicant once more redesigned the site, reducing the building from 8,068 feet, which was originally reduced from 8,548 feet, to 7,667 square feet, increased the south and east property line setback to provide a one-way traffic flow lane to the south and east of the building, and relocated the trash enclosure to the rear of the structure. As well, the order board in the drive-through was relocated to the east to provide additional stacking for the vehicles that had not yet placed in order. The amended site plan further reduced the number of parking spaces requiring a variance from 21 to 14. Regarding parking, as stated above, the amended site plan requires a minimum of 61 spaces where 47 are provided. However, a variance was granted on February 5, 2018 to allow for the reduced number of parking spaces by 21. Again, it should be noted the applicant has reduced the number of spaces requiring a variance from 21 to 14 through a redesigned plan that reduced the structure's square footage. To meet the ADA parking requirements, 2 barrier-free parking spaces are provided. Regarding dumpster screening, the dumpster, which was originally proposed along SECOR Road to the west of the structure, and where a variance was granted to allow the placement in front of the structure, has been voluntarily relocated to the southeast corner of the site. The proposed dumpster screening of split-face block with hinged screened access doors meets the requirements of the ordinance. Loading and unloading. No defined loading and unloading area has been identified on the site, which complies with the variance granted on January 9, 2018 to allow the loading and unloading to take place in a front yard. Since that time, the developer has amended the site plan to provide a 10 to 12-foot wide one-way traffic flow lane along the south and east property lines, which may be able to serve as a loading-unloading area. Clarification should be sought during the final site plan approval process, keeping in mind a variance has been granted to allow loading and unloading in the front yard. The building materials consist of the north burnished block, brick soldier course, open steel canopy, and canvas canopies and ephes. West, brick split face block, burnished block, canvas canopy, ephes. On the south, split face block, brick, and brick soldier course. East, split face block, brick soldier course, and ephes. Signage. In the C3 zoning district, each parcel with a multi-unit structure shall be permitted one freestanding accessory sign not exceeding 50 square feet in area, plus up to 50 square feet of additional area for the decorative structure of the monument sign, and shall not exceed 7 feet in height. The freestanding sign shall identify the name of the plaza, if there is such a name, and the address or range of addresses of the plaza. Not more than 75% of the sign, not including the decorative structure, may be used to identify the names of the individual occupants of the units contained in the multiple unit building. In addition to one freestanding accessory sign, each unit may have an accessory wall sign identifying the name of the business. The sign shall be restricted to 2.5 feet in height and either 50 square feet in area or 80% of the width of the unit, whichever is less. On a corner unit having road frontage for each unit, which contains at least two sides of a building and where both such sides of the building have frontage on and face a road or street right-of-way. There may be two wall accessory signs identifying the names of the occupant of the unit, and each sign may be 50 square feet in area and not exceed 2.5 feet in height. As well, no sign should be located higher than the lowest point of the roof attached to the wall of the building. The Planning Commission shall have the right to waive the requirements of Section 419.22 sign ordinance where exceptional conditions or circumstances exist and where it would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance and without substantial detriment to the public health, safety, and welfare. The right to waive the requirements of Section 419.22 shall include the right to allow larger wall signs or identification signs for units in multi-unit sites or buildings where the building or unit is of such a large size that the sign needs to be larger to fit the scale of the building or unit. While there is no freestanding sign design being proposed for consideration at this time, it should be noted the sign location identified on the site plan meets setback requirements as it does not encroach on the corner clearance area. As well, specific wall sign details have not been submitted to the Planning Department for consideration at this time. However, the developer is seeking to permit a wall sign on the east end of the building to serve the most easterly unit. The Planning Department is asking that consideration be given to that request at this time. Contact was made today with Stonefield Engineering Design regarding the sign design and sizes. It was indicated they will make contact with the architect to obtain additional information if available and presented at the meeting. Approvals have been received from Mannequin Smith Group dated 11/21/18 with comments and conditions. Monroe County Road Commission dated 12/6/18 with comments and conditions. Monroe County Drain Commission dated 11/8/18 with comments and conditions. And the Bedford Township Fire Department dated 8/21/18 with comments. Should final site plan approval be granted, you may want to include the following. Final site plan approval shall be contingent upon addressing all comments, conditions of MSG, MCDC, MCRC, and BTFD review letters.
Thank you, Karen. I missed the middle there. Could you do that again?
Sure.
Is there a representative for the applicant that would like to come to the podium? Could you state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Tim Ponton with Stonefield Engineering, 28454 Woodward, Royal Oak, Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything you would like to add at this time?
Yeah, I'll just briefly add that Karen did a great job summarizing. We've been at this since January of 2018, so it's almost been a full calendar year, but with any former gasoline site, it took a bit of time to do some cleanup, and then obviously we were able to come up with a refined design as compared to the original one that we had come in with January, as we reduced the building by about 1,000 square feet, and we're able to improve the circulation. But we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could come back up so we could be easier that way to ask questions. Is there any lighting that you have proposed on the building itself?
We do have lighting on the building. Any lighting that's proposed on the building will have no spillover on the property line.
Okay, I just wanted to clear, that's one of the things we wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
I didn't hear anything in particular. Is there any plans for signage out front near the corner or anything of that nature? Is the unit signage going to be primarily on the structure itself?
So we're proposing a monument sign that's kind of located right at the intersection of Stearns and SECOR. We've got it on an angle now, kind of parallel with the intersection, so to speak, but it meets we're just going in for a sign that meets the ordinance requirements for setback and size. And then as I think the applicant continues to market this and figures out who the tenants will be, we'll be able to finalize what that sign's gonna look like and who goes where.
And then
on that theme of signage, I don't know if I heard correctly, was this part of the site approval was an additional signage for that east unit, which would be the Arby's location on the east-facing side?
I know it may have got a little confusing as I was reading through it. If you have a corner unit where a unit has two frontages, in this case, the west would have frontage on SECOR Road and on Stearns Road. The east would not. It would only have frontage on Stearns Road. However, they are, they meaning not necessarily this, but the architects that drew that. I know that Arby's has made contact with us, asking to have a sign placed on that east end. Planning Commission is the only board that can waive a sign request if needed. And it can be done at this point, that if you don't have any objection to the proposed signage. Now, given that we don't have the dimensions, but if you can, at least at this point, give consideration if you're opposed to having signage on the east end, of course, then you can, because that is part of the submitted plan to show that there is signage on that east end. You can deny that now and state that, or you can go ahead and approve the signage as it has been proposed, however, meet the requirements of the ordinance, or they would have to come back then for a sign waiver.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on that? What,
Yes, go ahead.
what do you mean as the ordinance? I'm a newbie here, so I've followed, I mean, I've understood planning for many years, but I haven't been sitting here making decisions. So are you talking about a pole sign or a?
No, no. They are proposing a monument sign, and if you take a look at sheets.
Excuse me, a monument means secured to the ground, no pole?
Yes.
Okay.
It would have a full base,
Okay.
not exceeding 7 feet in height. If they are proposing anything other than that, because we do not have a design that has been submitted, they would have to come back to the Planning Commission to seek a waiver. If they submit a sign that complies with the ordinance, that would be administratively reviewed. And if it meets the ordinance, we would just process it through for a permit and issue a permit. In this case, when you look at a multi-unit structure, we have letter height restrictions, no more than 2.5 feet in height, the wall signs. We also, again, don't allow only if it has frontage. So a sign that is permitted, if they would come in for, say, one of the units and it meets the minimum or the maximum 2.5 feet in height, no more than 50 square feet, or 80% of the width of the building, whichever is less, we would issue a permit. If it doesn't meet the ordinance requirements, it has to come back to the Planning Commission then again for review and a waiver.
Did I understand in your what you read there, in the picture, I go by pictures, sorry. The picture shows an Arby sign facing Stearns. I thought you said that there would be another wall side facing the east for that.
They're proposing one on the east end, which is not permitted by ordinance. However, the Planning Commission can agree to allow
Right,
one on
okay.
the east end if it meets the requirements of the ordinance as far as the size.
I guess my confusion is, do they want a monument sign on the east end as well as two signs on the building?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
At this point, we're just talking about 2 wall signs.
Okay.
The monument sign would serve for all 3 or 4 units, whatever this is
And it would
divided
be
to.
down at the intersection of Stearns and SECOR?
Correct. If you take a look at C4 in the site plan, sheet C4, at the intersection, we show the corner clearance area that is blocked out. Signs cannot be placed in that area. And there is I know this is a small
C15.
print. I know we have larger prints here if you'd like to take a look.
Thank you.
In the corner, there is it identifies a sign on the diagonal. It is out of the corner clearance.
Just found it, excuse me.
Nope, that's okay.
Okay,
So their proposed location for the sign is out of the corner clearance, meets the requirements. So there would not cause any obstruction or visual clearance on the corner. So
it a brick
the
sign?
proposed- But we don't have a design, so they will
Oh.
have to at least present a design to the planning department. If it meets the requirements of the ordinance, we would process it through.
Does it have to be a brick sign?
It does, it has to have a
Okay.
monument bottom.
Okay, I mean, I don't mind
Yes.
passing it off onto you, you're very professional, but I just want to make sure it's a brick sign.
The-
It is?
The base has to be material similar to the structure.
And illuminated, or one of the, not one of these flashing,
Well, they would
terrible
have to,
pictures?
if they can have an interior lighted sign, backlit. However, if they are proposing any LED, such as Walgreens has an LED for message change, it would have to come back to the planning commission, because at this point, we don't allow LED. Typically, we don't find those with multi-unit. They're allotted a percentage of the sign for each unit, and usually that's what they have.
Okay, great.
What does EIFS stand for?
EFS, I think locally is known as Drive It.
Drive it,
Oh,
EFS,
okay.
yeah, Drive It,
It stands for exterior insulating.
yeah.
stucco type looking.
You mean the
As far as I
technical,
got
those-
there.
I don't know what that acronym actually stands for at the moment.
I don't either.
It's kind of like what Taco Bell has on
Yeah,
their...
exterior plastering.
Yes, it would be something similar to that.
I'm sorry, what part was that?
EFS,
No, I mean,
my tongue twister.
Just part of the,
on,
It's a type of building material. It's like, I always think it's like a drywall type looking.
It's essentially a foam with
It's foam.
a plaster over the top of it.
To look like stucco or,
does
we
it look
have-
like CVS?
no.
Oh, good. Does it look like the dollar store in the front? I don't like that.
You're
either.
not going to have much of that anyway. If you take a look at the proposed structure, it's mostly brick, split face block, and the burnished.
Well, I don't know, I see a lot of something else up there, and that little gray blocks around the awning.
Can someone-
I'm real
can someone-
concerned about the look.
That's the window.
That's what?
That gray is the window.
No, this gray up here, this. Okay, so, and that is what, like you said, concrete or something, what'd you say?
It's more like a foam board.
Does it stand up to,
Like he said, stucco masonry.
oh, stucco, I like
We have a-
stucco. It looks
Many
like stucco.
structures in the township have that. Many structures have portions of their facade. If you look at Deer Creek Commons, where the American Table, the ends of their gables are EFS, so we do have some structures that has that on there.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't that stuff that they put on. I don't mind the brick on the dollar store, but that front stuff is not very pleasing to my eye anyway. Okay, and then my question is, again, being a newbie here, we don't require any pitched roofs? We just allow all flat roofs, or?
Pitched roof on that building would look kind of strange.
Really?
We allow for variations in the elevations and the frontages, and this particular building, they have provided that. You will notice that the ends, you're not going to be, you will not see the structure from this view. You'll see it from this view. And we allow for the variations in the height. They've put awnings on to give the variations as well on the front of the building.
I like,
And they have actually put the decorative material on all four sides.
okay, because I only see that one side, two sides. Okay.
do you have a plan for the loading and unloading?
What we did, since, we did get the variance approved in the front yard, and we're planning on that being off-hours deliveries, what we were able to do is, in the rear, you can see we've added a striped area. It's only 5 feet wide, but when you combine that with the drive-through area and the bypass lane, I think if the opportunity is there early in the morning, or depending on the delivery time, and we can deliver in that aisleway, we'll be happy to deliver in either one of those areas. The path of least resistance is what's most likely going to happen. We're not expecting huge delivery trucks on this site, so.
Thank you. I like the bypass included with that. I've been trapped before.
Yeah, it helps.
Karen, I have a question. Or
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I should say.
Go ahead.
Would they be allowed to have more than one wall sign on a corner unit?
On the corner unit to the west, yes,
So if somebody comes in, wants that unit, they could have.
yes, without requiring a waiver. It does have two frontages, one on SECOR and one on Stearns.
I do have to let you know, too, that we are one member short tonight, so it will still require a majority of 4, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, 4. Would you like to proceed tonight?
4 out of 6?
Yes.
Let's proceed.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Frank Arcori from VERUS Development Group, 423 North Main, Royal Oak, Michigan. I'd like to add just a couple comments on behalf of Arby's, who is once again kind of acting as our anchor tenant. They asked that we consider putting signage in the rear of the building so people driving on SECOR are properly made aware of the drive-through and the use itself. I think that it's on the elevation that was provided by our architect, but I noticed that it's not clearly called out all that well.
Would they be considered directional signs? If you look at sheet A201, it looks as if on the south, we don't have, it doesn't show up real clearly on this piece. If you can show them where it's located. It's a directional sign that provides identification of the drive-through location. It doesn't show up real well on this particular elevation we provide. So it would be behind the west unit, on the south wall of the west unit, correct?
Facing south.
Facing south. Which would give direction as that is the entrance to their drive-through.
Okay. And then that's what you want to sign up there in the building? Or, I mean, they do.
Is there a difference between a directional sign and a wall sign?
We allow directional signs. In this case, it's located on a building. If you're so inclined to permit that, I would certainly add that it is permitted. We would,
Yours looks better.
for safety purposes, we would want to have some
So
sort of a
that's all it
directional
is,
sign,
just-
and perhaps it would be better located on the rear of a building than at the entrance right off of SECOR Road. So it may be a better idea to offer that.
Stumbling around trying to find.
Since Arby's is located on the east end, you may have people trying to go through, make their way through the drive-through. It's better to identify where the entrance to the drive-through is rather than have them circle around onto Stearns and drive around the structure to find it. So it may better serve the needs to have that identified readily on the plan, particularly for people that are entering the site from SECOR Road, knowing full well that Arby's is located on the east end. It may be better than having
Okay, so,
structure.
but you want it up in the air on the building rather than like McDonald's says, enter here?
That's up to you on what you would permit. This would be a waiver. We would Typically, we allow them to be 2 feet in height, or 2 square feet, no more than 3 feet in height at the entrances. It looks like maybe they have chosen not to go in that direction and to put the location.
I think the wall sign is a stretch. I could see a lower sign mounted near the entrance to the development, directing people to the RV drive-through. That's a stretch in my mind.
Can I ask you, as an engineer, what your reasoning would be, or theirs, or whatever, to have it up on the building? I mean, as a woman driving, I don't like to, I mean, I want to see where I'm going to turn, not, I don't know, I just think that that would confuse me. But I'm not a normal person either, so. Is there a reason why you'd want it up?
I think the general thought process is just to give people as much advance notice as possible, that they have a better potential of seeing that as they're traveling along SECOR Road, and they make that quick right in and staying behind the site, as opposed to they turn into the driveway and then they're looking for a directional sign, but it might be too late.
At the same time, if they're in the middle lane and they say, oh, they got an Arby's here now, it'd be easier to turn on your turn signal. I guess you could do it even if it's signed, okay. I agree with Dennis. It seemed, I mean, just from my habits, seems to me it would be better at the driver's eye level. So this is an entrance right here. So is this definitely an Arby's? Because I heard that, you know, I mean, I know we're not approving whether it's an Arby's or not, but
At this point in time it is, but
no Chick-fil-A? Sorry.
Question.
Yes.
The question is, will that be blocked by putting it lower? What would the height be, the 7 foot? The monument type would be 7 foot?
The monument identifying the plaza.
No, excuse me.
But
The
this
one they're talking
particular
about on the
sign-
south side.
No.
No, they're actually proposing it on the building. If you're looking for directional signs, by ordinance, we allow them no more than 3 feet in height, 2 square feet.
I guess my
By
question is the one that, like Dennis was talking about, down lower, what does lower mean?
You would have to clarify with Mr. Jenkins what his,
Well, Karen was just saying that the directional sign's gonna be 2.5
they can be 3 feet in
3 feet in
height at 2 square feet.
Yeah, which is, if you look at the Burger King sign, similar to that, on the Stern Road entrance.
But this sign's gonna not be right on SECOR. It's gonna be back in a ways.
No, it'll be on SECOR.
It'll be on the corner of the building, no.
No.
That
The
was-
sign that they're
yeah.
proposing would be,
Correct, that's what I'm saying, for direction.
right.
Anything attached to the structure would require a waiver by the planning commission.
Correct. And just being up higher, you're going down there and you got Burger King there, you got cars parked there, you would definitely see it if it was up higher.
another challenge with this site is there's just not a great area to put a directional sign. Is another challenge that we're having. It's like one small green area right next to the driveway, but outside of that,
Again, we have not had a sign plan submitted to us for review other than what's been shown on the submitted elevation, the rendering.
If they have to come back later for the monument sign design, they could also do that at the same time.
Many of these multi-unit structures come in with a plan for the entire site, directional signs, their wall sign sizes, and things of that nature. It just depends how they want to proceed. But if you do allow for a directional sign to be located on the structure, it would require a waiver from the Planning Commission. You may state at this point that you're not going to permit that, however, give them the option to come back, or you could, at this point, tell them what you would approve in the way of directional signs, as well as, again, might be Arby's. We've already had Arby's a sign company for Arby's contact us before the structure was even here for site plan approval, so, but until it comes in the door.
Right.
As far as aesthetics go, I think the directional sign on the building would look nicer than the enter and exit here, just as far as aesthetics go. So, I mean, personally, I'm not against it being on the building, if that's what they would want. As far as being more visible one way or another, I wouldn't know until I actually saw the finished product, I don't think, so.
Too late.
Right.
Last question about the directional sign from me. The one that's proposed on the wall, does it conform with the size permitted as proposed on the wall?
I'll
Did
be
you answer
honest
that
with you,
question?
I didn't catch it because I didn't see it until he pointed it out to us. If it's more than 2 square feet, we just want to keep in mind too that if you allow that directional sign, you're not going to have any visibility from, if you're circling around the building, coming from the north. It will only be visible from the south. So, again, directional signs from an ordinance standpoint are typically on the ground, providing an entrance, an exit, and things of that nature. A drive-through, something that would identify as a drive-through. But that's, I don't know the size. We don't have any, even the Arby's signage that's being proposed on, or any of this other, we don't have any dimensions, so we can't calculate the square footage.
Fair enough.
I think the thought process, though, is if any of the signage exceeded the allowable size by ordinance, we would have to come back in front of the appropriate body to get that approved at that point in time.
Which would be the planning commission.
Right.
Is there a directional sign proposed off of Stearns Road as you drive in to say drive-through that way?
I think that's all part of this discussion that we're
Right.
having.
On Stearns Road? Is there one on Stearns Road? In the ground?
No, I understand. I don't think we've gotten that far just yet. We haven't gotten to the point of a full site plan package. It's just the one specific request that the tenant had made was to have a directional signage on the rear of the building.
Well, then, Karen, let me ask you, is it allowed to have another directional sign in the ground up a Stearns Road as you just drive in? Say drive
Entrance
in?
and exits are permitted to have directional signs.
Okay. So if they decided they wouldn't have to come back here if they wanted to put one in there, in addition to all the other signs. Oh,
Well-
Dennis?
Personally, I would like to see a sign plan presented. It's hard to do this on the fly. You can't visualize it. So I would be willing to recommend, or to make a motion to approve the site plan with the submittal of a separate sign plan. Can we make that motion?
Sport.
Would you like me to actually read it? I would recommend approval of the site plan for SECOR Stearns Development, parcel number 5802-032-056-00 at 7386 SECOR Road, subject to satisfying all the issues identified in the 11/21/18 letter from the from Manick and Smith Group, the December 6/18 letter from Monroe County Road Commission, and the, what was the date on the Monroe County Road Commission?
12/6/18.
Let me just rephrase.
We'll grab it.
We'll grab it.
12/6/18.
Yeah. And from the August 21, 2018 letter from the Bedford Township Fire Department, I think we can probably, well, I wouldn't even do that. The second wall sign separately or with the sign plan. What's your preference?
Separately.
I don't have an issue with that second wall sign, but it should still be shown on the signage plan that's submitted at a later date. I think that was it.
Can I offer a friendly amendment? I don't know, this may not be needed, but for my reading through this before, it says the applicant will work with the DDA to ensure the planned landscaping for this area is in agreement. And since we're approving it, I don't know, just because it's in Karen's write-up, if that should be in the motion or not.
You can add it.
Well, I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Okay.
All right. I have-
Support.
Excellent. Can you take the roll?
Wait, I just have another question. I don't know how you guys work with motions and then discussion, but can I ask one more question? Or no?
I don't know. Yes, I guess if we can.
This time.
Has to do with the dumpster. I don't know, I mean, I read it, I don't know north, south, east, or west. I don't see it on here, so where is,
Dumpster is located in the rear corner of the property. We originally had it located here along SECOR Road and obtained a variance to have it there, but we voluntarily moved it back into the corner.
so it's back in the corner where you come into the drive-through?
Correct.
Back where we can't see it on there? Okay, I just want to be sure of
And
that.
keeping in mind that they did receive a variance to have it in the front on Secor Road and voluntarily moved it to the rear of the structure.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'll vote for this then because of
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Ms. Tinnerberry.
Yes.
Mr. Zybek.
Yes.
Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is a request for final site plan approval for Southern Michigan Sportsman's Club on parcel number 5802-016-03900, otherwise known as 2344 West Temperance Road, Temperance, Michigan. Karen, could you give us a background on this?
Sure. Again, the applicant, Southern Michigan Sportsman's Club, Richard Bomer, president, will be the spokesperson, Brian Ellis, Glass City Engineering and Surveying LLC. The property is currently ag zoned. The current use is a gun club shooting range. The subject site consists of approximately 7.150 plus or minus acres and is the existing site of the Southern Michigan Sportsman's Club. In 2017, the structure on site was destroyed by fire and a demo permit was issued on 6/1/2017 to remove the structural remainder and clean up the site. While the structure has been removed, the club has continued to operate the outdoor shooting range. The submitted site plan indicates the existing footprint of this building is being utilized to construct the 4,160 square foot new building. As the site has been in existence, there is no additional proposed landscaping, lighting, or signage. The properties to the south are R1 Single Family Residential and PUD zoned, and the location of Newcomb Trace. The surrounding west, north, and east properties are ag culturally zoned. For Section 400-1904, parking for private clubs or lodge halls requires one space for every 75 feet of usable floor space. The plan indicates 1,660 square feet of usable floor space, which will require 22 spaces. The site plan states a total of 40 spaces are being provided within the gravel area. The applicants were granted a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals on April 10, 2018, to allow existing gravel surface to serve as hard surface for parking, as it was in existence before the fire. We did include those minutes. However, the site plan indicates a proposed asphalt accessible area with a concrete sidewalk and accessible path with 2 barrier-free parking spaces will be installed. Approvals have been received from the Bedford Township Fire Department on 10/4/18 and the Monroe County Environmental Health on 12/12/18, as there is a requirement of a new septic system. Monroe County Drain Commission review, you do have in front of you tonight the latest version, so this will be a little bit dated. Monroe County Drain Commission is reviewing the revised site plan. However, in speaking with Doug Link, the Monroe County Drain Commission has no objection to the Planning Commission granting final site plan approval, conditioned upon any further comments once an amended plan is reviewed and approved. And that, at your desk tonight, is the review of the new plan. Should final site plan approval be granted, you may want to include the following. Final site plan approval shall be contingent upon addressing any and all comments, conditions of the Monroe County Drain Commission, Monroe County Environmental Health Department, and the Bedford Township Fire Department review letters. Also, there should be no building permit issued until all items are addressed and construction drawings have been submitted to the building department and approved by the building official. You will notice that we did not forward this to the Manikin Smith Group for an engineering review. They are reconstructing the building basically in the same footprint. And in speaking with Dennis Kohler and the planning department, felt that there wasn't a need to, they weren't increasing any square footage, and if so, it would be slightly. And the Drain Commission did review the plan just to ensure that they were not going to create any negative drainage on-site or off-site with the new structure. And the Road Commission also, there is no new curb cuts, so they were not either.
Thank you, Karen. Could you state your name and address?
Yeah, my name's Richard Ballmer. I live at 10899 Cemetery Road in Erie, Michigan,
Thank you.
and I'm the president of Southern Michigan Sportsman's Club.
Is there anything you'd like to add to what Karen?
Not really, you know, between the board here helping us out, I mean Bedford Township theirself helping us, a lot of guys helping us, Dennis Kohler, Paul Peroni. Karen especially putting her boot up and me and saying, hey, you got to get this done, you got this done, you want to get this done this year? Yeah, we did. And we've been working on this for a long time. You know, we just like to get approval to get started building our building.
Thank you.
I've had one complaint about people shooting rapid fire out there. It was on a Sunday morning. I went over to the club, and we had 3 guys over there with bolt-action rifles, and all that noise was coming from the neighbor next door. But with the new building up, it'll create a real good buffer zone. I don't think you'll hear a lot. We've never had complaints before.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The site plan was amended to reflect the new location. They did have to relocate their septic system from the west side of the structure to the south side. And again, from the Temperance Road side, it's now located on the Temperance Road side in front of the building. The Drain Commission did review that location, and the comment that was received is with that plan, with the relocation of the septic system to ensure that there will be no negative impacts. So that does include the Monroe County Health Department's approval of the septic system on the south side of the structure now.
Thank you.
The old one was on the west side.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I understand the footprint's the same. Is the design of the structure pretty much the same?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Stick frame type construction, is it going to be
Yep,
block? or-
Block building with metal roof. The only actual wood's gonna be in that building this time is a small office space and a meeting room.
Okay.
You know, we feel safer that way than we did before because the old structure was wood, and once it caught fire, it was gone.
Fire. Is the use of the structure primarily a meeting space, or is it going to be some kind of indoor range inside? or-
We are eventually gonna put an indoor range in, mostly just a meeting space right now until the building's completed. And then we're gonna work on putting the range in. But it'll all be confined to the inside the building. It'll be, pretty much, soundproof walls and everything in there, so, you know, there won't really be a problem.
I take it small arms in there for the most
Right,
part,
right.
correct? And having a setup with the backdrop, with the
Right.
the high fancy, the new,
Yep, we're gonna have, the grades, you know, V grades in there with a bucket to catch a lead on the end of it, you know, and then we'll just take the lead and then, you know, use it to recycle, and, you know, it'll be a nice clean area, really.
well, I will say, you know, this is just a kind of an FYI too on a lot of these. I know that the EPA does get involved in a lot of these shooting ranges too, and they have a pretty high emphasis on, you know, lead cleanup, lead exposure. So just a kind of a side note, that something you might want to consider, and make sure that you're looking into methods and means of cleaning up and abating.
We're gonna have a
lead.
cleaning service come in there around 3 times a year and clean that part of the building where the residue from the gunpowder, whatever, will be cleaned up.
Thank you.
And I do like the addition of the accessible parking spaces that are paved. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we've got some handicapped people. We got a young man doesn't have legs that, he's on a skateboard, and he really appreciates what we're doing.
Yeah. I do have to let you know, too, we are one member short, so it will still require a 4-member majority vote tonight.
Okay.
Would you like to proceed?
Yes, please.
If there's no other questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Make a motion to approve the final site plan for Southern Michigan Sportsman Club on parcel number 5802-016-03900, otherwise known as 2344 West Temperance Road. Doesn't seem very invasive. I would say the approval is contingent on the final site, the comments, conditions, Monroe County Drain Commission, Monroe County Environmental Health Department, and the Bedford Township Fire Department review letters. Also, ensuring that prior to securing a building permit, that all items addressed and construction drawings have been submitted to the building department, approved by the building official.
Support.
You take the roll.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Tinnevery?
Yes.
Mr. Zybeck?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Chairman Anger?
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of hard work.
Looks like it.
All right. Next on the agenda is public comment. This is for anybody that'd like to make any comments tonight. Seeing that there is none, I will move on to new information. Karen, anything for us?
I just want to say thank you to the Planning Commission for making the arrangements to meet this evening rather than last week. And I know you wanted to meet next week, but I do appreciate your making the change for us. So everyone have a happy holiday and Merry Christmas and safe, and we'll see you in January.
Thanks. Any staff or commission comment? All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Meeting adjourned.